What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering. I hope you're having a very, very good day. I'll be live streaming tonight around 5 Central Time here on this channel, as well as on Rumble, so I hope you'll tune in for that. It looks like we may have some sort of indication that perhaps these Kyle Rittenhouse lawsuits may be going forward. I've been pretty, how do I say, tough on the kid. I think it's because I, just like a lot of people, forgot he's just a kid, thought he was going to be some sort of warrior for conservatives, and then I realized he's just a kid, and a kid who doesn't want to know what he wants, doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, doesn't have a plan, just like almost every kid at that age. This lawsuit thing is really stuck in my craw, though, because a lot of people raised a lot of money for him to go after some level of accountability, and it really doesn't seem like anything's been happening. And yesterday, I guess he tweeted out, "Timing is everything," and he tweeted this article, and it says, Rittenhouse hires Sandman lawyer, plans to file 10 defamation lawsuits. But when I clicked on the article, I was like, oh, this is an old article. I read this a while ago. So I don't know if he's actually going to do it now, but, I certainly hope so. I think that the cash is probably getting tied up in civil suits and things of that nature. But, Kyle's been doing Kyle things. He's doing his YouTube channel, and I wish him all the best on that. Probably just trying to live a normal life and make TikToks with his girlfriend or whatever. I guess he heard that I kind of poked fun at his girlfriend, and he was upset about that. So, I apologize for that. I'm just worried about that. I was worried that perhaps someone was taking advantage of him, but I guess that's not the case. So he tweets out this article: Rittenhouse hires Sandman lawyer, plans to file 10 defamation lawsuits. Kyle Rittenhouse hired Todd McMurdy, the lawyer who represented Covington Catholic student Nicholas Sandman, in his defamation lawsuits against NBC Universal, CNN, and The Washington Post. McMurdy said this week that he expects Rittenhouse will have at least 10 defamation lawsuits against prominent figures and companies, including Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg, for their comments about the exonerated team. Quote, "I have been hired to head the effort to determine whom to sue, when to sue, where to sue. We're going to take a look at everything that's been said, determine which of those comments are legally actionable, and proceed from there," McMurdy told Fox News Digital on Thursday, adding that he's confident that there's probably 10 to 15 solid cases against large defendants. So here's the thing with defamation, and this is something that I know deeply because it's come up several times, not that I've defamed someone else, but that they've defamed me. You have to be able, in many cases, to prove some level of damages, right? If somebody just says something you don't like, or maybe even something that's incorrect about you, it doesn't mean you're going to win a bunch of money in court. Now, you can sue. This is the United States of America. You can sue anyone, anytime, anywhere for anything you wish, for the most part. But it doesn't mean that you'll win. With Kyle, I think his damages are more, it's not existential, but they're more like, they're less concrete. Let me give you an example. Let's say that somebody said, you sent an email to a sponsor and said you were transphobic or something, and then that sponsor dropped you, right? And you lost $100,000 in revenue a year. That's an actionable thing, right? If somebody made a lie about you, said it with intent to damage you, I'm not sure if intent is required or not, but they said it, and then you lost money because of that thing, then you can sue them and likely win if they have anything to take. That's the other part of this, right? All the faceless nobodies on Twitter that say all this heinous things about him, it doesn't really matter because they don't have any money. So, I mean, I can say, for example, I've gone through a situation similar to this, and it costs a lot of money to sue somebody. I mean, a lot of money. Even when you're 100% in the right, you're going to be spending tens of thousands, minimum hundreds of thousands, most likely, in these particular cases when you're going up against some sort of media outlet. So I think he's got to pick, which which targets are the softest and which ones will pay out. A lot of people have told me privately, like, oh, I know, trust me, Nicholas Salmon got paid out. I don't know. None of it was public. Haven't heard much from him since. Was he paid out $100,000? Was he paid out $1 million? Was he paid out $200 million? Was he paid out $50? I don't know. So there's a lot of misconceptions around lawsuits. Even if you take everything somebody has, it might not be very much. When you're talking about going after The View or, these other cases, you may be able to rack up a bunch of settlements because they don't want to spend. You might be able to say to them, look, you're going to spend $200,000 defending yourself in court. Maybe we can settle for $150,000 and this goes away. You do that 10 times, kid's set for life. I've said since Jump Street, you should have written a book. Instead of doing all these TikToks, he could have ghost written a book, had somebody write a book, help him write a book. And it would have been a New York Times bestseller. And he would have been set for a very long time. The article continues. During Kenosha, everything that happened, McMurdy specifically noted that Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook as potential targets for defamation lawsuits. The social media platform listed the incidents as a mass event, which McMurdy explained is factually false. The designation also caused Kyle's accounts to be removed and positive comments about the teen to be restricted. See, these are the things that you're talking about, like damages, right? They took away his ability to defend himself in the public square based on, what was probably their own political leanings at the time. He continues, let's just use, for example, what Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg said about Kyle. They said he was involved in something terrible and a mass incident. McMurdy said this was not that. It was clearly and factually false. It was false from the start, even before you knew whether he was innocent or guilty. To call somebody this is seriously defamatory, and then to use the power of social media to basically censor any views that would take opposition to that label is a serious effort to destroy his character, he continued. And it was seriously mistaken and seriously defamatory. I would agree. You go after Facebook. McMurdy said Zuckerberg is certainly going to be at the top of his list of potential lawsuits because he has an outsized voice, and wallet. Facebook has an outsized voice. They can do a lot of damage compared to somebody who maybe have a small blog with 100 subscribers, just like I said. But we're going to look at everything that we have access to and have been published and decide which ones are actually actionable. Like Rittenhouse, Sandman was also condemned by the media for an incident back in 2019 in Washington, D.C. McMurdy represented Sandman in multiple defamation lawsuits and managed to obtain settlements from NBC Universal, CNN, and the Washington Post. McMurdy said that he doesn't necessarily tie these cases together. They are similar because both Sandman and Rittenhouse were minors who were falsely and wrongfully condemned by the media and social media. McMurdy also argued that Kyle's job prospects are permanently diminished. That I would also agree with, as a result of prominent figures and companies' allegedly defamatory remarks. Quote, not to mention what they called reputational harm, which means that Kyle is never going to have to interact with anyone where they don't know who he is. And this is going to follow him around for the rest of his life, McMurdy said. Everyone's going to prejudge him in every new interaction that he has with everybody for the rest of his life. And that's called perpetual reputational harm, he said. The social media hysteria caused all of this because people can't act responsibly and rationally in certain circumstances. 100% agree with that take. I think you had, people like The View and all these sorts of perpetuating the state line stuff, and stuff like that they knew was false. That was obviously false. President Joe Biden equated him with, I think, was supremacy at the time or something like that, posting his picture. Another idiotic move from, I don't remember if he remembers what was going on at the time, but when he posted that stuff, that is millions and millions of people will now associate him with something. He's just a kid. He has no political leanings. He's just a kid who likes to pew-pews. That's it. And a lot of people on the right, including myself at one time, were like, oh yeah, this guy's gonna, and then we just kind of learned he's just a kid and he should be able to live his life. He defended himself legally, as is to the letter, and he stood trial and he was exonerated. And now all of the people that, it's one thing to get something wrong, which is kind of what I talk about all the time, an issue of correction. it's another thing to what it seems like the liberal media was doing, purposely getting it wrong repeatedly and using his name to push a political agenda, again, as a minor, as somebody who's innocent. And in those cases where it wasn't even like all the facts weren't in, it was like, no, they knew the facts and they still lied. So I sincerely hope that he does push these lawsuits through very, very soon. I understand why it would take time to kind of key this all up, as well as he's got the civil stuff he's got to deal with. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. But an interesting tweet at an interesting time from one of the most interesting people of the last year or two. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it, and you make sure you click that subscribe button down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.